are on to our last speaker for today. I'm so excited to introduce her to y'all. She is the founder of a company called Brightly Co., which she founded in 2017 to change the world through social impact-powered shopping. Before Brightly, she led strategy in fashion, e-commerce, social impact, product development, design, and community engagement for companies like Google, Amazon, Sephora, and Adobe. She lives in the Bay Area here in Oakland with her husband and 2 dogs and loves hiking and doing DIY projects around the house. Will you guys please give a warm welcome to Laura Alexander Wittig.
So I get the privilege of speaking to you all at the end of the day, so hopefully everybody is still awake and enjoying themselves. And I'm actually originally from Texas, so I think I can actually say y'all. So I'm excited to have that privilege here today. I brought a few note cards that sometimes I get what we call uncomfortably excited about what I'm talking about, because I'm really passionate about it, so bear with me. But yes, hi, I'm Laura. I am building a company called the Brightly Company. We are a community-powered platform to connect people to goods and stories that help change the world. So we are composed of a few different things. The first thing is a marketplace. So we have curated products that are doing good for the world and that are powered by brands like a lot of you are building. But we also have a community where people can really connect with one another and share the impact of the products they're purchasing and also different lifestyle topics as well. And the final portion, which is very Silicon Valley, and I'll get into some interesting Silicon Valley isms here in a bit, is that we are actually utilizing blockchain-powered technology to help people multiply the impact they're having. So we have a loyalty-based program that allows people to trade out points that they're accruing from shopping, from engaging, and they can actually trade those points out to charities based on blockchain-powered technology. So I'm really passionate about connecting women to this type of technology. I think this is a really, really new space that we all need to be paying attention to. If we don't, we're going to end up getting lost, and that's just going to kind of flash us by. So I'm really excited about that. But enough about me. I really wanted to take this time to help share a little bit of information that I have sort of accrued over my time just working and chatting with other wonderful career-minded women. And like our topic is today, it's owning your own wellness, so I kind of wanted to get into that. Okay, so owning your own wellness. I feel like that statement is way easier said than done, right? I'm sure most of you are really similar to me. You are building businesses. You're probably building more than one. Hashtag side hustle. But I also think that, the reason why we're in this room is because we're really consumed by a passion for impacting the world around us in a positive way. So, with that, we are balancing a lot of things. And we're balancing a lot of things because we're women in particular. So, we have all sorts of things that we're trying to do. We are trying to maintain our family, we have friendships that we need to tend to, we're working out, we're training the dog, and then my personal favorite task is the emotional labor it takes to explain to my husband why I'm so exhausted at the end of the day. So that's always really fun, is trying to explain him what's going on. He's wonderful, he's supportive, but again, that's a little bit of emotional labor that takes. So I also want to point out that in the midst of doing all of these other things, we're also really having to pay attention to the certain circumstances that the world around us is giving us. So I don't know about you, but I feel like the narrative that's been happening lately is very divisive. A lot of us are trying to figure out what we should be doing. If you're local, you also were here when we had the world was literally like burning around us last year. Where we had friends and family members that were impacted and were losing their homes. There was smoke everywhere. So I just want to point out that the reason why I'm bringing all this up is that you're not alone in feeling stressed out about a lot of these things, and it's something that I really have been trying to work through in my own life. So that being said, if you feel like your emotional stress is not impacting your health, then you're absolutely wrong. As we know, science has really told us that we've got to pay better attention to these things, and we get to a point where we start to think, well, I'll do that later. I'll do that tomorrow, or wellness is something you don't want to prioritize. But I think oftentimes life has other plans for us. I've had the privilege to work for some really wonderful companies, great names here in the Valley, great things that those companies are doing. Those companies are also very stressful places to work. And so I have spent my whole career at places like that. And I also had been suffering for some health issues. So last year, after many, many years of being stressed out, I was diagnosed with skin cancer. As you can see, I'm quite a pale woman, and it runs in my family. And it was something where I had to take a step back and say, if I was not able to continue to do what I want to do, am I doing the right thing right now? Like, is this worth it? Is this what I really want to be doing? And for me, the answer is yes, because I feel really, really strongly about what we're doing with the Rightly Company, and how I'm able to help amplify products and women really that are doing things better. So anyway, I know that sometimes we think ain't nobody got time for that. One of my favorite memes of all time. But we do have time for this, so I want to show you kind of how you can do that. So next slide, please. Sorry, next one. So the first thing I like to tell people is to set ground rules in their professional life. So whether you are leading a company or you are an employee at a company that you love or maybe you don't love so much, I think there's a lot we can all do personally to set ground rules. So as a leader, with my company, I try to make sure that all of my employees know that this is not a 24/7 thing. We're new, we are hustling, we are doing we're not doing what Gary Vaynerchuk would tell you to do, which is hustle and never sleep. We're not doing that, but we are running really fast towards a goal. That being said, I tell people, look, I personally will try not to ping you after 5. If I do, don't answer it. That's your family time. Unless there is some kind of emergency in which I will literally text you. My company uses Slack, which I'll talk a little bit about later when we talk about specific tools. But I say, set your Slack notifications to snooze after 5. It's not a problem for me. Another thing that I also like to do is I don't pressure people into moving here. I think in the Bay Area in particular, we all know it's really expensive here, particularly in the city proper. And I feel really strongly about people being able to live where they want to live when they want to build companies. So is it valuable to have FaceTime every once in a while? Absolutely. We get together for offsites and various events. We'd love to hold events. We'd love to see you at one sometime soon. But that's when we take that time as a team to come together. Another ground rule that I like to tell people is, again, be really upfront with your boss or your supervisor about what your personal goals are for your position and for what you're really expecting out of work-life balance. So it doesn't have to be like this really super awkward conversation where you're like, hey, I just heard this lady and she said I should turn my phone off at 5. Are you cool with that? Sometimes your boss may not be as receptive to that, but I like to phrase it like this, hey, hopefully you have a good relationship with your boss. If not, there's also other ways to go about it. But most of the time, I try and couch it around a specific event. So I might say, hey, you know what? I've started to get into this, fitness class that I want to do every Tuesday at 5. So I'm going to leave right at 5, and that's what I'm going to do. That's something that I used to do back in the day. That works pretty well. So I think you can kind of take small steps there and see how your boss or your group even really responds to that. But again, if you're building your own company, I really encourage you to lead by example and not, pressure people into feeling like they always have to be online, always have to be connected to you. Next slide, please. So this is a topic that I am so passionate about, which is reclaiming your time. And so, of course, everybody thinks that means something different. Of course, it does to many different people. But for me, reclaiming my time really means streamlining and automating processes in my life that are drains. So I utilize a variety of tools to help me do this. I actually, I've kicked around the idea of I feel like books could be written about this just with all the different tools. But let me share a few of them with you so that you can take home some actionable tips. So one thing that I've been really excited to use lately is a tool called Airtable. It is, I hesitate to say this, but it's almost like a Google Sheets type view that you can put information into and then get a bunch of different views out of those. So I don't know if you're familiar with Trello, but Airtable would allow you to input in information, looks kind of like Excel, but then you're able to take that same Excel view and apply a Trello-like visual format to that. So it's really nice. Airtable also has this area called Airtable Universe, which lets you go and see previous examples of what people have been using Airtable to do. So I know somebody that, well, we manage our editorial calendar on that. I use that for a CRM instead of HubSpot. I'm just trying to make sure that I am using tools that can do a lot for me and not have to go to a bunch of different systems. And I'm not paid by them by any means, I just love them. The other day they sent me a pair of socks that had Airtable logos, so I was like really excited about that. That was really cool. So I will get paid in socks, I suppose. I love that. Like I mentioned a second ago, my team really likes to use Slack, and I love using Slack. So I know for some reason there's been like a weird sort of trend of people like saying, get off Facebook groups and join a Slack group. And if that's the only exposure you've had to Slack, you're probably like, what's the big deal with this? But if you use it in an organizational setting, it can be something that's really powerful. Essentially, it's just a way for you to connect with people instead of emailing. So it has threads. You can attach things to threads, and you're able to sort of ping and use push notifications to that. So I think a long time ago people like to use other tools. I think Slack is coming up there. I really enjoy it. Another tool that I like to use is Calendly. So Calendly is a great one to, it's free, I think, for your first 1 or 2 events. But I use it particularly to set up coffee chats with people. So I'm in a really fortunate position where I get to meet with a lot of wonderful women, and of course men too, who want to chat about what I'm up to, and I would love to see what they're up to. But without a personal assistant, sometimes it can be hard to manage the management of a calendar. And so Calendly is something that you can just direct somebody to. You can go ahead and pre-fill in availability, and then all somebody has to do is click on that link, and they can say, hey, I'm going to meet with you on Wednesday at noon for coffee. And because you've already set your availability, you're free, and you get that notification automatically put into your calendar. So I found that one to be really helpful too. Another tool I use is called Adobe Spark. I think a lot of you are probably familiar with Canva. It's similar to Canva, but there's a whole suite of products that you can use. So I use it for social media graphic creation. I use it to create videos. I think we all know that video is a really high conversion piece of information you can use for ads on social media, or even just to help engage your community. I know it goes without saying that creating videos it's really difficult. I don't have time to learn After Effects, and is that even a video? I don't know. No, it's not. I don't think. I don't know video. But I don't have time to learn that. I love Photoshop. I love Illustrator, but I'm not a video maker. So Adobe Spark allows me to do that pretty quickly and do it at scale. Another thing, the final thing I want to mention is the tool that helps connect all these things together. It's called Zapier. So Zapier really allows you to connect your Gmail to a text service. It allows you to, create a form on Airtable and then get a notification when that form is filled out. There's a lot of different ways to kind of pipe all the same information into one's place. So if that's your Gmail account where you like to set up filters, do that. Again, I could probably talk all day about this, but I'll move on. But the point is that, the minutes that you spend in email or in Slack or in any of the tools that you do, those minutes add up. If you took an audit of how much time you spent in email, I think you would probably be floored. So the idea here is to just automate some processes for yourself, get that pipeline set up, and then you're going to be able to take those extra minutes and devote them to yourself, and back either to yourself or to your business or however you want to spend them. Next slide, please. Another tip that I have for people who are looking to sort of incorporate wellness into their own life is to really consume mindfully. So it's part of the reason why I started my company. But outside of that, doing something like creating a capsule wardrobe can be really, really helpful. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with that concept, but essentially you just take You take, anywhere from like 15 to 30 pieces per season, and you mix and match them. And you only wear those 15 to 30 pieces. You might, maybe sub in some accessories every once in a while. But the first time I did that, I was super intimidated because I thought, this just seems like a lot to do. But Marie Kondo was really onto something when she talked about simplifying your life and taking the decision-making process out of sorting through many, many items in your closet. So I did that, and it honestly changed my life. I mean, every single photo, or every time I look back and I see myself, I'm put together. I didn't have to think about what I was wearing that day, but I also didn't have to repeat the same outfit. Everybody always people here love to talk about the Steve Jobs turtleneck. Okay, great. I'm not going to wear a black turtleneck every day. It's not going to happen. It's probably not useful for information for you either. Capsule wardrobes are sort of a way to get across that, to get that point across. You can also, again, while you are consuming mindfully, you can support businesses that are doing things better. I think everyone here loves to do that. So just make sure, it might cost a few extra dollars to get a pair of jeans from a company that is doing it sustainably. But odds are it's going to last you a lot longer than quickly running out to your favorite big box store and getting something that was not made in a fair way. All right, next slide. So this one's easier said than done too, right? Become your own best friend. I think we as women, I think this has been touched upon earlier, but we have a lot of expectations of ourselves, and that are expectations that are given to us from society. And I think at the end of the day, we like to focus on the things that we didn't accomplish. Oh, I forgot to do this, or didn't do that. And so taking time to really take a step back and appreciate yourself and appreciate what you'd accomplished on a daily basis can be something that's really, really powerful and impactful. I had a chance last weekend to hear Ariana Huffington speak, and I highly recommend if you ever get a chance to, please see her. She's a wonderful woman. A quote that she shared that's really stuck with me since has been, live life as if everything is happening in your favor. And that, to me, that one thing has really, really transformed the way I see daily life now. Rather than assuming, okay, things aren't going to go my way, or I'm going to have to sort of go into battle today, or what are the things I need to do to check off that to-do list, right? I think checking off that to-do list can be a really nice adrenaline rush for a lot of us. So it's nice to be able to take a step back and think, okay, good job, you've done a great job. Another thing that I could recommend as far as being kind to yourself is to cut back on context switching. Now that is also way easier said than done. But when I say context switching, I mean, you're at your day job, you're in a meeting, you've prepped for that meeting for many, many weeks, you go in there, you give your presentation, it goes well, and then all of a sudden you look and your phone sent you a bunch of notifications because wait, your side hustle Instagram's blowing up. Awesome, right? That's great, but at the same time, every time you start to switch between different, different areas, you are really expending a lot of mental energy on that. And so again, we as women, we're multitaskers. There's no cure for this, but the more mindful you are of that, the better you can, again, start to reclaim some of that time. So what I've done personally is I've stopped notifications from Instagram in a specific window of time during the day, so that I know it's there. I'm really lucky to have a social media team, someone who's here in the audience as well, to help me manage some of those things during the day if something happens. But at the same time, for me, it's been really impactful to just try and cut back a little bit on that context switching. Another thing I love to do is I am a huge fan of investing in yourself and taking personal development classes. That can be a new painting workshop, or learning a new language, or even just learning a tip, taking a class for something that you feel like could make you better at, for a particular skill set that you feel like you might be lacking. I love to learn, and I find that, I think one of the previous speakers mentioned doing something that you find that you're good at can be really powerful and therapeutic. So I feel like the inverse of that is also learning something new can also really challenge you and really get you out of your day-to-day. So I think learning something new and investing in yourself is really key. Self-care, again, she looks like she's having a good time. Taking time to do your definition of self-care is really important. I also think that we can all fall into the trap of Netflix and wine, and using that to, really unwind at the end of the day. I think that's wonderful in small doses, but I think we also have to be mindful about, if you see patterns cropping up, that you're not 100% sure, like, where your time went. Maybe it was because you were rewatching Parks and Recreation for the third time. That's not terrible, but again, if you're trying to figure out, sort of troubleshoot your life and understand what's going on, I think it can be helpful to say, wait, how much time did I actually spend watching Netflix? I don't know. But again, whether your self-care is, using a bath bomb, like somebody said, or just taking a little bit to relax, I think it's really important. Finally, the last point I wanted to make here was be authentic. So I think that's something that gets really, really lost in today's world, especially with social media and the need to want to put on a big, a big face to the world. I think, of course, we're always going to do that to a certain degree, but for me, I always find that when I can speak authentically, when I can be silly, I love puns. I mean, I'm like just always making my team like probably roll over with all of my pun knowledge. But for me, I love it. They haven't all left yet, so I think I haven't scared them away too much. But when I can laugh and be funny and show up with my authentic self to work, I really feel invigorated, and those types of small wins and small energy sort of creating activities that can really help you get through the day. Next slide. So this one is also something that I think we are all trying to do subconsciously, which is, you've heard that saying, your vibe creates your tribe, all of that, but I really, really believe that surrounding yourself with people from a variety of walks of life is really important. So I run in a lot of circles with a lot of women entrepreneurs. I find hanging out with them is so impactful and so empowering. It's also what keeps me going, especially when, being an entrepreneur can be really lonely. You can go home and your family's like, you're still working. You're like, yep, I have this deadline. But you can reach out to a few different female entrepreneur friends. That helps. At the same time, I think it also helps to have friends who are not part of that space, who will call you on your BS and say, hey, I know that like you and all your friends are working way too much because you're preparing for Black Friday. You need to take a second and come to see this new movie with me. I mean, I think that really helps to make sure that you have a variety of people and a variety of different experiences amongst those people to really help understand and sort of provide a nice commentary, free therapy, if you will. Okay, so go ahead, next slide. This one is a really, really impactful piece of information that I feel like also easier said than done. This whole thing is, right? But get enough sleep. So I am actually religious about getting 8 hours of sleep, which is very, very, very odd in an ability for a founder to be able to do that. And it's because I have to get that much sleep. I know that when I don't get my 8 hours of sleep, my brain is not firing the way it should be. I'm more irritable. I can tell. And no amount of Phil's coffee helps me get through that. So it's something that, again, Ariana Huffington, when I saw her speak, she was really, really passionate about this as well. She just wrote a book on that. And one piece of advice that she gave, which I thought was amazing, which was if you're not like me and you don't find it easy to take that 8 hours of sleep or really even wind down before bed, she instituted a policy at her house, which she calls her putting her phone to bed. Mm-hmm. So she charges her phone outside of her room. And as a mother, one of the women in the audience said that she had been doing that, and it was really valuable to teach her children, like, hey, before we go to bed, the phone goes to bed too, and it goes to bed outside of this room. And yeah, maybe you have to get another, like an old school alarm clock. Like, oh gosh, where do you even find one of those anymore? You can. And as a matter of fact, they're probably really cute. Probably found a cute vintage looking one, right, for Instagram. But it's really, really important to get enough sleep. And there was a quote that I read before I came in here, I thought it was really interesting. It said, when we feel like there isn't enough time in the day for us to get everything done, when we wish for more time, we actually don't need more time, we just need more stillness. And that stillness comes from sleep. So whether you are, whether your dog joins you, or you're just getting a few cat naps on the couch, I think it's really important to make sure that you're getting enough sleep. So I just really wanted to close with this right here, which is give yourself a break. I think I alluded to this a little bit earlier, but if you haven't heard it lately, I wanted to remind you of something, and that is you are enough. Like, every single person in this audience is making a difference in their community, whether or not you are creating a company or you are working for you're working for someone else. Whether or not you're a mother and you're treating your children with kindness and respect, you are really making a difference. And I want everybody to hear that because, again, we're surrounded with a lot of heroes, a lot of people doing things that we're aspirationally trying to get to, but what we're doing matters. So you can do it. You can do what you're setting out to accomplish, and you can do it with grace. So I'd like to open it up for questions if there are any, but otherwise, if you'd love to reach out with and have coffee with me, we'll get you on that Calendly link like I talked about earlier. My email is laura@thebrightly.co. I'd love to connect with you. Okay, no questions? Fine. We're all done. Oh, you know?
Yeah. I was just looking at Brightly, so I haven't done a deep dive, but how do you find the companies and makers that you feature on the website?
Yeah, so we find our brands a few different ways. One is through Instagram. So the ethical and sustainable brand community, as I know people affiliated with the Yellow Company know, is a really, really strong, impactful community. So if I'm following someone, then someone is always quick to say, hey, there's like 3 other brands that are doing something even similar to my company, and they're gonna, as a brand. So like, let's say I have a denim company. She'll say, oh yeah, there's 3 other denim companies that are also doing great things. So this community is really strong and has an awesome referral network. So we do that. I also find people just through going to events and networking. And we have a variety of brands on our site. So we have companies that make millions of dollars every year in revenue, but we also support really small brands. The earrings that I'm wearing right now are handmade by a woman in Chicago. So I think there's a spectrum of which we are trying to serve, and we're really just trying to again connect people in one place to products that are making a difference, and make sure that these products are things that they already would want in their home. So it's going back to sustainability and wanting to make sure that we are not overly contributing to people acquiring too many things, right? That's pretty, from an investor standpoint, when I'm talking to investors, a lot of times I get that question, like, well, wait a second, aren't you telling people to buy less? And I'm like, that might be so, but I really believe in the power of people to purchase products that are doing good things, and the network effects by how, that type of consumer behavior are going to happen.